hello. Hello. I think when you tell a story, sometimes it's always good to tell a story from the start. So I'll start. It's the 60s, and that was the era that I was born. Can you not do the sums, if you wouldn't mind? And so the year of the 60s was smack in the middle of the Vietnam War. It was Woodstock. It was a time the pill was invented. It was a time that women were saying, hang on, we've got a voice. It was a time that, we could start to actually have more say in work and life. But the interesting thing is, despite the fact that I was born in that era, my mother was born in the 50s. So my mother said to me, really your job is to be supportive. Your job is to be, if you're not pregnant at 21 and married, mate, you're left on the shelf. And so for her it was all about, it's important that you actually are there for the husband. In actual fact, my sole role was to be there and ensure that I was his supporter instead of the other way around. And interesting enough, they even sent me into a tech school. So in a tech school, who knows what a tech school is? Right? Okay, tech school, people over 50 know what a tech school is, right? What a tech school is they actually are designed for not leaders, but for trades. So I learned sheet metal, I worked woodwork, I make cooking, typing, all of the things as support. So I can make a ripper a birdhouse, but God help me if you ask me a capital city of anywhere in the world. So, but my school went to 16. So I left school at 16 years old, not because I was a high school dropout, that's as far as the school went. There was no discussion of university. No one I knew had a business. No one I knew went to university. Our job was to learn our craft and get into the workforces, which I did. But for me, despite the fact that I was sort of surrounded by, you are the follower, not the leader, Janine, I didn't have a desire to start my own business. I didn't have the lemonade stand. I did have a sense of adventure and I did want to travel. But before I travelled, I needed money. So I was working 4 jobs, working at nightclubs, I was working during the day. And because I happened to be 5'8" and a size 8, I thought to get extra money I would try modelling. And again, if anyone's here is over 45 or 50, they would have seen me on some pretty impressive front covers of magazines for the time, particularly if you're into greyhounds. And I seriously have no idea how my mum thought it was okay for me to be on the front cover of a truckie magazine. Interesting. So modelling probably wasn't my thing. But travel was. And so at 21 years old, I put a backpack on my back and I headed overseas. Found myself, after lots of travels, broke in the south of France with $80 to my name and no ticket home because that's what you cash in to get more money, and a couple of $1,000s worth of credit card debt. And so I conned my way into a job because I told them I had enormous experience on yachts in Melbourne because it's a massive yachting industry, Melbourne, because there was no Facebook, remember, or internet for that matter, for them to check that I was lying. And I found myself on a job and 6 weeks later this guy bought it. So for the next 2 years, I got to hang out with rock stars and movie stars. So I went to the Grand Prix, I went twice, I went to the Cannes Film Festival, I threw frisbees with Mick Jagger, I I cleaned his toilet and served him, right? Robin Williams, Eric Idle, some Steve Martin, all these really incredible actors. And so what I realised from a girl from the burbs is people were just people. And I took that, and it's interesting, it was because they're all flawed and they're not necessarily happy because they're superstars. And I thought that anyone who was a celebrity is, they're not human, they're like subhuman. But, trust me, I cleaned their toilets. They poo like everyone else, right? And so it was a real sort of aha moment for me. And I took that into business. And I took that into business in the way that it didn't matter that I was maybe less educated than the person opposite or that I had less experience. I came in there not feeling I was more than nor less than anyone else. And I think that was really important. But going back to being 25 now, after being on the boats for a couple of years and having a time of my life, I got involved with a relationship and that relationship resulted in a pregnancy. Don't know how that happened. And so I found myself at 25 pregnant living in the south of France. And the guy I was with at the time was a nice guy, but he wasn't my guy. So at 2 years I persevered, and 27 years old, I actually found myself back in Australia living in Boronia with my parents after having this rock star lifestyle and literally starting again. And you know what you do when that happens, you have a pity party and then you go, right, okay, here we go again. And luckily I met a man called David Putnam who was a director of a film called Killing Fields or Midnight Express, for anyone again who's over 45. Great movies. If you're under 45, go get them. They're fantastic. And he introduced me to a guy called Graham Burke, and I found myself once again employed in Melbourne. So through that employment, I actually found my entrepreneurial spirit, and that entrepreneurial spirit came from getting married, and having someone believe in me, actually believe in me more than I thought I could believe in myself. And so through that relationship, and through having more children and deciding that I didn't want to work for anyone else anymore, I wanted to start my own business, we started our entrepreneurial journey. And like anyone, most failed. You know, we tried publishing, that failed, all sorts of things failed, until we actually tried touring comedians. And then after a year of being promised all of these people, we end up getting a guy called Bob Smith. I hadn't heard of him either. But because he lost me a lot of money, you get me 15 seconds of my very first business.
And it wasn't easy telling my parents that I'm gay. In fact, I made my carefully worded announcement at Thanksgiving. I said, Mom, would you please pass the gravy to a homosexual? She passed it to my father. A terrible scene followed. Then my mother says to me, Bob, you're gay. Are you seeing a psychiatrist? I said, no, I'm seeing a lieutenant in the Navy.
Yeah, funny. It didn't make me money. It's not very funny then, is it? So we thought, okay, that didn't work. And my son actually recently said he wants to start a business. And I said, look, I hope you actually fail. I said, I'm sorry, but I hope you fail. Because in actual fact, it's through failing that you learn to be great. And he said, but if I fail, I'll lose motivation. I said, if you fail and lose motivation, you were never meant to succeed in the first place. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But really, from there, I actually went with my husband to America and I saw the category of juice and smoothies. And I came back with my zero knowledge of experience in business. And I think that they're the two things that got me through business. Was first naivety. I didn't have any glass ceilings. I didn't know what I couldn't know because I didn't know anything. So I just went, sure, let's do it. We'll do it. How hard can it be? I can have time with my kids. I can have flexibility. I can work 20 hours a week. You know, didn't realise I was going to work 120 hours a week and loved it. It was fun. I have got a very long resume of various jobs that I have done, and I've been qualified for none of them. It started with a line of, wouldn't it be good if? If you start a business, you're wanting to solve a problem. For me, it was a belief that we could create something that could do retailing differently, but more importantly, that made people feel good. I opened one store, and then within the end of that year, we had 3 stores open, and every single day I was learning something. We had more personal liabilities that we could pay off in 3 lifetimes. We sold our family home. We were all in. To really be successful, you do have to give your soul to it. If you can find something that you love, then it's not work. Even though I thought at the time, you have no idea what's involved in getting this to that many stores, you know what, with a plan and the right passion, you actually get there.
What's up, Boosties? I've heard that you've kicked some major goals in the booty, and there's a lot to be proud of. Congratulations to y'all, baby. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy.
Surround yourself with people smarter than yourself. Don't take credit for what they do, but actually embrace them as the next leader.
How the do I get down from here? Is it Bob? Is his name Bob?
Create this great team. Create a winning team. Make sure you only have great people in your business. I was on this massive learning curve, and every single day I learned even more things.
She's kind of the smiling assassin.
Exceptionally competitive.
She is her authentic self.
we can make our customers just that little bit healthier or just that little bit happier, then we've done our job.
You feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy.
It's not the fact that it's a great tasting product.
Happiness is for you.
It's not the fact that you get good customer service.
You feel like
It's not the fact that the store is engaging and colourful.
bring me
It's all of it.
can't none bring me down. 'Cause love is too.
So how? How? One of the things that I was fortunate to get some good mentors early. And one of the things they said is, Janine, I can tell you now that there is very few people, like a minute amount of people, that can take a business from an idea and a concept into a massive growing business. And that was because they could not evolve. They could not change, they could not adapt. So I came into the business going, right, I need to adapt. And how do I adapt is I need to know that I have to learn as much as I can. Because as you know, unless you can't count nannering in France and being a stewardess on the boat, that doesn't really help you that much in business. So I realised that formal education will get me a job, but self-education will make me a success. And it's actually those learnings that actually come into play. I also knew, and I learnt this early, that the 7 most expensive words in business are. We've always done it that way. We are in a world now that have never seen more change than we've ever have before. What you've done business for the last 50 years is now not, you can't work that way. We have to change and change every day. Business has changed. All of these companies have actually don't even own their own inventory. Double-sided marketplace. I never even heard that term that long ago. And this is why. 80% of us have mobile phones, right? Smartphones. 80%. There is now more mobile phones talking to each other, smartphones, than there is humans on this earth. And privacy, when you go online and you want to buy something, and it gives you 2 choices. You can go Facebook, or you can actually take 2.5 seconds to put your email in. Thank you, choose Facebook, because that means we can know what your age is, what you spend, if you're married, if you're not married. So you're giving us all the information. If you don't want to do that, then put your code in. Because the reality is privacy, we see privacy differently now. We actually even go to events differently. People there are actually more interested in showing their friends, I'm here, you're not, where are you, than they are actually enjoying it, except for her. You go, all right, innovation, Janine, we need to innovation, we need to change, right? But the reality is the easy stuff is coming up with an idea. You don't sort of go, right, here's an idea, we've got it. We now need to put time and effort into it, right? You can't just go, yep, here's an idea and now let's back it up. The reality is 70% of people want to change. 70%. 10% change. So we're in a world that you actually have to change. And how you change is you have to learn from the past of where businesses haven't changed and what's happened to them. And so we need to look at some of the businesses and see what we can learn from them. Nokia. Again, anyone's over 45 would have had a Nokia, right? Nokia is a phone company in a world that stopped buying phones. Blockbuster. They were valued at $8.4 billion in '94. By 2000, I had an opportunity to buy Netflix, mind you, and turned it down. By 2007, they were gone. 8.4 million. Netflix, an incredible game changer and disruptor. Amazon, I think Jeff is a hero, what he's doing. He's constantly going, right, how do I evolve? I've got drones delivering products. I deliver in New York in an hour. I have more people searching on Amazon than I have on the internet, generally, to find it. Boost. We sell juices and smoothies, but because our customers are converting to mobile phones, we created a game. By the way, it's really good. It's called Free the Fruit. And what we found from this competition was that we got to interact with our customers for 56 million minutes over a 4-week period. We had increase in sales of 17% because we're looking at things differently. And we never even knew what the hell Bitcoin was. Right, who owns Bitcoin? right? So do I, right? Let me tell you about it. There's 21 million of them. Apparently 4 million were lost in a dumpster. And if someone bought a pizza, that value of that Bitcoin's now worth $10 million. You know, Burger King right now have created their own currency called Whopper Coin. Seriously. We gave them away. You know, really super smart people are saying cryptocurrency is the future. It's the future of currency. Super smart people are saying it's a waste of time, it's like collecting stamps. We don't know. In some form it's going to happen, but we don't know. But the flying cars. In the 60s, in 1962, the Jetsons came in. They predicted in 2062 we'd have flying cars. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, again, the 60s, they really were thinking ahead back then, right? We have them now. You know, there's the Dutch, it's worth $612,000, it goes 150 kilometres an hour. It's pretty fast. And the EU, right now, you can actually go from one place to another in a flying car, same with New Zealand next year. The only way, though, we can actually evolve and the only way we can change is to make mistakes and actually embrace mistakes. It's like what I said to you earlier with my son. I hope you kind of fail even a little bit because it's really the mistakes that actually brings the success. And, you know, you can't talk about mistakes without speaking about Elon Musk. You know, he is the man who is, like him or loathe him, I like him because I think he will change the way we think, to change the way, what we do. You know, this guy already blew up 4 rockets. On his 5th rocket, he blamed aliens, so that wasn't his fault. So that was all fine. But he will actually change the way we think. This loser's worth $16 billion, you know, and it's his innovation that's changing. You know, petrol stations believe that they'll be reduced by half in 10 years. You know, things are changing. We have to adapt with them. If you don't adapt, you really die. What stops us? Here we go. Resilience to new ideas, right? Why break something that's actually working? You know, ridiculous. Risk appetite. You know what? It's easier to say no than yes. No means that we don't have to change anything. We can keep in our little safe bubble. We can keep that dud husband, right? No means that we can just keep on the same trajectory. You know, yes means change. Yes means we can actually embrace technology and we can embrace the new way we do business. You know, too much innovation, that is a real problem. Which horse do you back? There is so everyone. There's a lot of people in business. And even if you're in business, you're an executive or you're in jobs of some sort. And how many things it goes? This will save your life. This will make life so much easier for you. Most of the time they don't. Most of the time they fail or it's too complicated. And also the lack of urgency. That's another thing that's a real issue that we're not changing. Laws can't keep up. You know, regulations can't keep up. Safety can't keep up because it's changing so quickly. And in the world of change, we have to embrace it and be okay with change. So at the end of the day, you need to adapt or die. But I'm a firm believer that if you really want to find something, if you really want to achieve something, you'll find a way. If it actually gets too hard, you'll find an excuse. There was times in my journey that, seriously, I could cry in a corner, that I thought people were going to find out that I really didn't know what I was doing. But there was never a time that I didn't think I'd find a solution. I just stuck with it longer. So in the end, to summarise, you know, always be the student. You know, one of the things that I love about getting older is that I listen more and I talk less. You know, that's what and I've got teenage children that haven't learned that yet. Look, embrace failure and adapt. You know, give it a go, try. If you want it enough, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. Let's not find any excuses. Thank you so much for having me, and let's evolve. Thank you.